A beautiful development is sprouting in Silverest Extension, and it has set the whole city talking. It's the Horizon Green Village Housing Estate, situated 20 kilometers from the airport roundabout and 2.5 kilometers off Greatest Road. This eco-friendly development targets savvy Zambians who want to live in a green, clean, orderly, and affordable neighborhood. As the Horizon Green Village development was launched, clear to everyone who was present that ambience, serenity, and class meet affordability at the Green Village. This combination
now we are focused on challenging real estate and how some of these challenges actually resolved. Before we get into tonight's business, here's a notice to clients that have bought land from Horizon Properties. Now, Horizon Properties are committed to delivering faster services efficiently and effectively to all their customers, and they pledge to place integrity, honesty, and diligence at the heart of their service delivery. However, they advise their customers that the obligation to protect your interests in the purchased properties is solely upon you. They wish to strongly advise that you exercise the following simple due diligence measures to secure your property. Ensure that the property is fenced off at its boundaries to prevent squatters, trespassers, illegal entry or encroachment by third parties. Inspect the property from time to time, stay up to date on any suspicious developments on the ground. Assign a responsible diligent caretaker or overseer, preferably one who is a member of the local community, to keep a lookout on the property if you do not intend to commence development immediately. Also consult a registered surveyor, Horizon Properties officers to assist in beacon sitting and boundary verification whenever unsure. Consult a registered surveyor to assist with site beacons and verify boundaries before you commence development on your property. And ensure that you obtain written statutory approvals before commencement of development works. Now, Horizon Properties will not bear responsibility or liability for any squatters, trespassers, illegal entry or encroachment on a property by third parties beyond the conclusion of the sales transaction. They therefore advise all their customers to exercise and apply the above measures as much as possible to avoid being inconvenienced. We now listen to a presentation by Dr. Sokyo Mpindi, CEO from Horizon Properties.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome to this evening's Property Focus program brought to you by Horizon Properties. I'm your local expert with a global reach, member of the leading real estate company of the world. Greetings from Horizon team. We are here again to disseminate information relating to the property market, property transactions, and any matters related to the same. And last time I was here, we are talking about we are indicating our understanding of goods and service delivery. That helps us to strive to improve the quality of service we provide to our customers and the public. This understanding of service delivery is very critical to estate agencies like ours, that we are able to understand and how to craft strategies and ways to improve our services continually. I indicated that the challenges with services is that services is a process. There are performances that are not tangible, and therefore need is an experience. Furthermore, I indicated that customers are part of the process of service delivery, and I give an example how customers can affect the quality of service delivery. I give an example that in a quiet restaurant, you can have clients who come to make noise and affect the experience of other clients that need tranquility. So that's how customers are part of the process of service delivery. So in other words, they're part of the production of the service. Furthermore, I informed, I stated that tangible service is intangible and very heterogeneous, diverse, meaning that there are different aspects that affect the quality of the service. Our understanding goes further to know that their expectations and perceptions of service that services are judged, especially estate agency or real estate services. To help us understand these expectations of customer and perception of the service delivery, we would draw our attention to the GAPS model. The GAPS model and its relevancy in the estate agency. This GAPS model of sales quality was first introduced or proposed in 1985. It provides the comprehensive framework for understanding and addressing service quality shortfalls in various industries, real estate agency inclusive. This model identifies 5 key gaps that occur between customer expectations and perceptions of service delivery. For companies like Horizon Properties that operates in a service-intensive sector, understanding these gaps is very critical and crucial for maintaining the competitive advantage and ensuring client satisfaction. Actually, real estate business fundamentally relies on trust-based relationships and service excellence. And therefore, understanding these gaps in the GAPS model, particularly relevant to identifying, they're very important to identifying improvement areas in our business, how we interact with buyers, sellers, landlords, and tenants. The gaps, the 5 gaps that exist in the service industry is one, the gap knowledge. This refers to difference between the customer expectations and management's perception of those expectations. And number 2, the policy gap. This is the discrepancy between management's perception and the service quality specifications. Number 3, the delivery gap. Variance between, this is refers to the variance between service specifications and the actual service delivered. And number 4, the communication gap. The inconsistency between service delivery and external communications. And gap number 5 exists, the customer gap. The overall difference between expected and perceived service. In estate services, where interactions represent significant financial and emotional investment for clients, addressing these gaps in a systematic way can mean the difference between business success and failure. So we pay particular attention to these gaps. We operate around these gaps. How do we bridge these gaps and understand and try to improve our services? Actually, research has shown that, has proved that, shows that 72% of customers switch brands after a negative experience. And within those 72, it's only 91% leave without complaining. Therefore, it's very, very critical to pay particular attention to these gaps to improve the service delivery. I start with to explain. I'll explain only 2 and how we are trying to explore this understanding, use this understanding to improve our services. Knowledge gap. This refers to understanding the client expectations in real estate services. This knowledge gap occurs when the estate agency management when the estate agency management fails to accurately understand what their clients truly expect from the services. As I said, as I mentioned last time, that services are intangible. You cannot touch, you cannot feel them, but it's a process of experience and how the experience is received. This fundamental disconnect, when the management does not understand what customers expect, can lead to service design and delivery that does not meet the client's needs and preferences. In our context, this might manifest when agency managers believe clients prioritize factors like, for example, quick transactions, digital marketing, Facebook marketing, when actually the clients may value transparency in communication. They value negotiation expertise, how you negotiate better for clients, and also the post-sales support. There comes a tendency where maybe agencies, our agents or other agencies may focus on the commission, and then after the sale, the clients abandoned. To say the least, property transactions take years. Even after 2 years, a customer might come back for clarification. And this requires that we are with the customers until the end for a long period of time. So some studies in real estate services in Kenya, studies showed that this knowledge gap was particularly wide when agencies relied on assumptions rather than actual research. So it's very important to understand this gap, understanding the management understands what the clients and the public need. And there are several factors that contribute to this knowledge gap in estate agencies. Number one, insufficient market research. Many estate agencies fail to conduct comprehensive research into changing client preferences and expectations in the property market. Yes, it's not easy to conduct research in a market that is still to some extent informal, because we expect that there could have been databases or institutions to assist in conducting research. Research is based on data, and data must be collected. So research is not cheap. So this is one of the challenges agencies like ours are facing. Number two, lack of management-client interaction. When agency principals and managers are insulated, they are insulated from the clients. Direct contact, they might rely on filtered information that may distort reality. As Horizon Properties, we have an open policy, and we have instituted the hierarchy of communication, how a client can reach the directors, the managers, and the principals. So this helps us to this is in turn is helping us to understand what are the key issues affecting our clients. Number three of the factors that cause this knowledge gap: ineffective transfer of customer feedback. Sometimes agents may receive valuable client insights, but there could be lack of a system to share this information with management. When some of the insights affect the credibility or the quality of the services provided by a particular agent, then and there are no specific protocols that a client can deliver information, then it creates a challenge, knowledge gap. The management doesn't know what the customer is saying. So this is, in addition to this, Horizon Properties is investing in technology so that no information from the customer is lost. The other factor that creates a knowledge gap in estate agencies is over-reliance on traditional practices. Agencies may assume that what worked in the past continues to be valid despite market changes. Markets, estate market, real estate market is dynamic, and preferences of customers change from time to time. Therefore, to bridge this gap, it's needed and required to conduct regular customer research by conducting surveys. These days, there's technology. We can use the technology to conduct surveys, and this is our focus to understand, reach out to the customer. What are the customers saying? The last one for today, for this evening, is the policy gap. This refers to the translating client needs into service standards. The policy gap emerges when estate agency management understands client expectations but fail to translate this understanding into appropriate service quality specifications and policies. This gap represents a critical failure in making a customer insight, turning customer insights into actionable service standards. In estate services, this might occur when management recognizes clients' communication but does not establish specific protocols for how often agents should update clients through specific channels. In other words, management of an agency understands what customers want, but there are no specific sessions, there are no specifics how they can deliver the expectation to the clients. The common reasons for the policy gap in estate agencies include: 1, inadequate adherence to service quality. Management may not prioritize formalizing service standards. As Horizon Properties, we have measurable standards of expectations, and to enhance these measurable standards, we are trying to invest in technology so that management is kept abreast with the expectations of the clients. Number 2, the lack of task standardization is a challenge. Assuming this assumption that professional services cannot be standardized, and this leads to inconsistency in customer experiences. It is challenging to standardize professional services, but there are measurables that can control this, that can measure this. And this is what we are focusing on. How do we measure what we deliver? I understand service is intangible, it's difficult to measure, but there's mechanisms we are employing to be able to know what has been delivered to the customer. And this one we are trying to do using technology. And number 4, insufficient explanation of service levels. This refers to not clearly defining what constitutes acceptable performance for different service aspects. This one, we are in the process of using technology to explain or to measure service delivery. To address the policy gap, estate agencies should establish clear, measurable service standards. This one we have done. We are able to measure. and we will be redefining the measurables in a few months' time, that we're able to measure specifically what has been delivered to the customer. These measurables refer to specific time frames. When do you call a client after how many hours of receiving an inquiry? This was very difficult to measure unless you have employed technology. So we employ technology to be able to measure these standards. And actually, we are trying to make sure that these measurables are specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant and time-bound, because they must be achievable. You cannot state standards that you cannot achieve. So as Horizon Properties, a customer-focused institution, we are trying to make sure that we get closer to the client. And in fact, as I just mentioned earlier, that we established an opening policy where the customer can come through the stages of and then up to the managers, to the directors, and indeed the principal. So this is where we are focusing. The quality of service is very, very important in your company, and we are trying to strive to make sure that day by day we reach out to the customers and understand the expectations. We'll continue to pound around this aspect of service, because we know that our long-term existence depends on customer satisfaction.
Offers proficient, time-tested real estate services to all property buyers and sellers. Are you selling or letting? Looking to buy or lease property? We sell and let residential, commercial, and industrial properties, farms, and small holdings throughout the country. Our pride is in offering tailor-made services to meet the unique needs of each client, coupled with innovative, effective marketing tactics for each property. Before you buy a plot of farmland, check if Horizon Properties doesn't have it at a cheaper price. Come and experience the proficiency that makes Horizon Properties stand out from the rest. Tried and trusted to deliver to its customers' expectations. We have offices in the following locations: Woodlands Head Office, in Kablonga, on the alley behind Osaka Hotel. Horizon Properties, the real property merchants.
Picture this, you're hungry and you're craving something different, something with a crunch.
Here's how to get started. Step 1. Call or visit our offices to express your interest in listing your property with us. Our friendly team is ready to guide you through the process and answer any questions you may have. Step 2. Schedule a property inspection. We'll assign one of our experienced sales executives to visit and assess your property. You can either pick up the agent from our office or arrange a convenient meeting point. This step helps us understand the property's location, features, and condition. Step 3. Property assessment and price advice during the inspection. Our sales executives will inspect the property and its extent. Based on the market trends, location, and condition, the sales executives may offer guidance on a suitable asking price. Step 4. Signing the mandate once everything is in order. You, the vendor, will sign a mandate agreement officially authorizing us to market and sell the property on your behalf. Step 5. We start marketing your property. After the mandate is signed, our team begins the marketing process immediately, listing your property on various platforms and reaching out to potential buyers. Let us help you sell with confidence, transparency, and professionalism. Call us on +260 211 260422.
Now joining me in the studio this evening, I have Bewe Adrian, who is the Sales and Listings Coordinator. Adrian, good evening to you, and do welcome to the program.
Good evening, Norman. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, now your reaction there to the doctor's presentation.
Okay, so doctor's presentation I think is quite huge, and it brings out a number of critical issues. Of course, what's more interesting is where it gets to highlight how exactly we want to get to a point where the service given to a client is measurable using technology. So as Horizon Properties, like what we said, we're a customer-centered, of course, organization, and we prioritize, of course, the needs of our clients. Because each and every day as we wake up, we endeavor to find means and ways, solutions to how best can we actually get to meet the needs of our clients. Because we believe to say, without these clients, there can never be Horizon Properties. And the reason why we've worked all these years on the market is because of the very clients that choose to transact with us every day. So for those that maybe were listening, or those that would want to get more information with regards to the presentation by our CEO, please do get in touch with us by sending an email to info@thehorizonproperties.com. So do not shy away. If you're someone who's dealt with us or someone who's never dealt with us but would want to get more information with regards to what he was trying to put out tonight, please send us an email to info@thehorizonproperties.com so that we can actually get to interact and just shed more light on what you expect when you transact with us.
Okay. Now, we did say that obviously tonight in the show we're looking at challenges in the real estate and obviously how some of these issues are resolved. Let's also begin with maybe looking at what the common challenges are. What do most people encounter, or what do you encounter when it comes to clients, when it comes to either you closing property transactions, and how does Horizon Properties handle them to protect these same clients as well? Because like I said, the customer service is one of the toughest businesses if you know that you are dealing with people, because people come from different backgrounds.
Yes.
So some of them may come there with high temper, some of them may come there with humility, while others have no patience, especially if they don't understand what's really going on.
Yeah, so true to that, we do get to experience a lot of challenges here and there, which present themselves in different ways. And in most, of course, cases, especially in situations where we get to sell properties on behalf of our clients, we've come to understand to say, in most cases, there's lack of understanding of the duties of an agent by the clients. So in most times, people would mistake us for a lot of things. You know, we've had situations where, let's say maybe a client comes through to buy a property at Horizon Properties, or maybe to buy a plot. Let me start from there. To buy a plot from Horizon Properties, which maybe we are selling on behalf of a client. And, you know, the client who's buying has a duty to do their own due diligence as they buy that particular property. But in most times, you know, we are mistaken for maybe a law firm, because we have boundaries under which we can operate. We don't cross certain lines. We can't, for instance, represent a purchase and a transaction, because it's not us. Our duty is to bring the parties together, get into a contract and transact. And you know, you'd wonder how, in most times, maybe a purchaser fails to do due diligence on the property, and information presented by the agent is ignored, because for this particular client, at this particular point, all they care about is to get that particular property. One of a very good example is recent we had a transaction. So this is a client who came through to buy a flat. So at first they were interested in a certain flat, very good location, very good price, in a very good neighborhood somewhere in Apex. So this particular place, they expressed interest, of course, and really wanted to get it. In no time, you know, certain prices for certain properties in certain areas, of course, will require you to raise a certain amount of money if you could afford them. So in the process, that particular flat was sold to someone else, and they came back. And you know what they did? All they thought was we couldn't wait for them to get the money long enough and transact. Forgetting to say, you know, when properties are put on the open market, the agent, our role is to secure the client, to the buyer. And when the buyer comes on board, who has the money? We cannot say no, we'll proceed. So that particular flat, of course, was gone. There came the second one. So the second one was what was interesting. So this second flat, apparently the owner of the property was deceased, and the buyer was aware, and the people who were coming in as administrators to this particular property were the letters of they didn't have, of course, the letters of administration, because they were still in the process of getting administrated. So this particular client, out of trust, managed to send the money to us as we waited for these particular owners of that particular property, the administrators, to get the documentation. You won't believe what happened. We started getting pressure now from the clients. You know, why are you still wasting time? Can you go ahead and pay these guys? So, but the question is, why should the agent who you've entrusted, out of trust, you've sent the money to, you are now pushing us to be the ones to go ahead and pay, when this particular vendor who is selling, or these administrators, have not done what they need to do? You see the issue there. So this particular client is trying to push us because of a situation that happened on another property, which was straightforward because the owner of the property was there. It's not like they were the owners, maybe it was a similar where the deceased and all that. But this particular one, the owner is late. So the children who are selling need to get, of course, legal authority to transact on that particular property. It was something else. Because this man at this particular property, the interest has to get the property. But how do we proceed and pay money to someone on a property that you cannot own until people actually get to do the right thing? So you see, in most times you find that if it was a purchaser who was impatient, others would go to issues of showing threats and all that, blaming us, calling us names as though we are holding on to their money. But forgetting to say our duty in this particular transaction, or our role, was to ensure to say, in as much as we are selling the property for the vendor, but the purchaser's money should also be safe. Because what about if this money was sent to the vendors and they go to sleep? You see? So those are issues where in certain times we're understood, because people do not understand our role. And in certain times, you know, people would expect too much from us. There are certain situations where maybe there's a property which we're selling somewhere, let's say maybe in Kalingalinga. So a buyer comes on board and there's a vendor. The contract's done and everything paid. And these particular contracts that are done, they have duties and they have obligations in simple terms, where it is clear to say the purchaser shall do A, B, C, D in a particular contract, and the vendor shall do A, B, C, D. But you find that in the process, in certain times, we would agree, okay, fine, 50% will be paid, 50% is paid. And then what does the vendor do? They go to sleep. Next, others who are honest enough will come back and say, I know, the money that I was given, maybe I went to do ABCD. Maybe is it possible that this can be done so that I fulfill my obligations? But there are others who would use manipulative ways to get, of course, the agent or the purchaser to pay money. Others, of course, would bring in health conditions. Others would come in and just present all sorts of pressures so that the other party, of course, may bend and release money to them. So you see, property transactions are legal in nature. And in most times, our CEO will tell us to treat each and every transaction as a potential court case, because you don't know the outcome of that particular transaction. In certain times, it gets to points where people are friendly when you're just starting out a transaction. But the moment money exceeds hands, and real estate will deal with a lot of money, people change. Because now the vendor now has money, you start speaking English. At the moment the agent maybe delays to release maybe documents or anything, you hear threats and all that. So the duty of an agent in this particular case, like I was trying to explain, is bring the parties together and ensure to say, in our case, obligations are met. Because if the vendor is supposed to do a certain thing, please, we ensure to say this is done and all that, on behalf, of course, of both parties. And in certain times we are seen as maybe we're not interested. You're waiting for the money to accrue interest. It's not about the interest. We're not interested in that. The only part that we are interested in is to avoid people coming back to us and blame us, of course, for things that we didn't do. And then, since I touched on the failure to meet obligations by parties to a contract, in most times I think there's a common maybe saying on the market, especially those that interact with the property market. We're going to plot in another title. I think you've heard about such technologies. People would refer to them like that in certain times. Not that it's a bad thing to buy properties on another title, provided, of course, procedures and everything are followed. But in most times, this is where we have these particular situations. We've had a lot of cases where subdivisions were sold a long time ago, like in this era which we are in. Money paid to the vendors. In certain times, the tax was withheld and all that. Tax was at 5%. Now it's at 8%. And you see, maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line, and the money which was withheld by the agent, so that as the vendor completes these processes of subdivision to hand over, of course, to the client, to the purchaser, to complete it, was 5%. And let's say a property was being sold at 500,000 kwacha, and 5% of that was something like, is it 25,000 kwacha? Yes. And now tax has moved to 8%. You see? And in the process, the vendor got their money in full. And in certain times, you find that the vendor is a retiree, sold their plot, which was maybe the last thing that they had, and invested the money somewhere else. And you ask them to pay extra on top of that, with 25,000 kwacha to make it 8%, something which they cannot afford. So how do you treat such issues? You see? So it becomes a challenge on our end. And in most times, we have a name to protect. We found ourselves compromising, because you can imagine to say the purchaser paid in full, and all they want is just the documentation and to complete the process so they can actually get to own that particular plot. And the vendor, I wouldn't call them selfish, but because people are faced with different challenges and all that, and a lot happens when someone gets them. They are not able to pay. So what do we do? So these are some of the issues which we face, especially with the issues to do with subdivisions. And in certain times, again, just like I gave the example of the other IBEX flat, in direct purchases, in certain times, the times when certain vendors run away from their obligations of a transaction, they would come and say, no, in a property, this is what I want, or they would negotiate, and all they want is just the money, and they're not willing to do anything. It takes us a lot of time to get to a point where we have to explain this is what happens, or because people don't have the information. And this is why most of the times when we come to the show, I think you've heard our CEO present a lot of topics, because all we are trying to do is to get the people to understand exactly what is involved when you are transacting. And last but not the least, of course, on the list of challenges that we face each time we're transacting are encroachments. So, encroachments, this is where there's a lot of drama, apparently, because we've had situations where we sell plots, especially in sites where we have 4 or 5 plots. A client is shown their plot. Okay, this is your plot here. Maybe it's even by the corner. And these are your big ones, of course, by the surveyor. What happens next? This person goes to site, chooses to leave their plot, take buildings and do another. And in certain times when you're not sure, the best you can do is to act. They move to someone's plot. And certain cases are worse, because someone will be having a corner plot and they go and build on the second or third plot. And it's not always that we get to visit certain odd sites. This person builds, leaving their plot. And then the other person comes, who owns that particular plot, and they tell you to say, no, for me, this is the plot that I want. I can't move to this other plot which this person bought. And in other worst case scenarios, you find that someone builds in between 2 plots. You bought 1 plot, but you go and build in between 2 plots. And then this still, at the end of the day, comes back to the agent. Because our duty is to make sure to say what? The needs of the client are met. And as we do that, we also have a duty to protect. Because what we try to, of course, achieve each and every day is, as we satisfy the needs of these clients, also to gain the confidence of the market. So these very people that we get to solve their problems can actually help us market our products to someone else. Another funny example that I'll give you is, you take someone to view a property, they buy, later on, because now, because of these very issues, we have end-to-end services in terms of surveying and everything in-house. So what happens is that this client is taken to site by surveyor. This is your farm and everything. And of course, there are people who they've gone with and all that. You come back 4, 5, 6 months later, they still come back. No, I've forgotten my way to that place. What do you do? Again, the surveyor moves to the site. Or times an agent steps in to go and take them. And later on, they'll move, they'll come back. At times, others will even come back and photo us, write emails and all that, blaming us, because for them, they feel each and every time, even if they wake up at 24 hours and call to say, no, you guys need to take me to this place, we need to be available. And then most times we've compromised, but at the same time, we also stand firm, because of course we're in business, and time, of course, is very important, because that particular time that we keep taking this particular client to sites all the time, we can as well serve other clients. And it's funny how people do not understand to say, of course, our obligations end at a certain time. Another good example again is most of the shop people would ask the discrepancy. So many people have bought land from Horizon Properties. Others have bought in 2020, 2021. And what happened? Port funds came through, so the because handovers were done and everything. What did they do? They disappeared. Disappeared, no, and certain times others even will call them to just remind them to go back. Although pick, have a good conversation. No, I'm actually planning on going there. Others do give you stories. No, I actually passed through there last week. I've seen that this one is doing this and all that. Even when you know to say, boss, I think here, if I can smile. But they're clients, so you can't make them feel bad. Yeah. So the only thing we do is emphasize and engage them to say, no, you really need to go there, go to your farm. And trust me, no. Let the day come when the farm is encroached. What do? Come back to Horizon Properties. Even when the farm was handed over 2 years ago. We recently had a situation, I think that was in Mongol. Land sold, handed over to clients. A year or two down the line, the land is still sitting idle as if no sale was done. But big ones were there. And the industry now, a lot of, some of our good friends, though we call them scammers at times, are sophisticated. What do? Find an opportunity, take people to that particular land to go and claim to say no, they own the land. And people, without doing the due diligence, find themselves buying that particular land. What is Horizon Properties legally? So and there's documentation to show to it to say this, we own the land. And the other person, they don't even have a single document to prove, to say this is the land that they own. And what happens? One of our clients, of course, is unfortunate, and the client for the other person who went to masquerade to say that the land was theirs actually gets subdued on that particular plot. And then the client comes back to us because they bought it from us. In as much as time has passed, because that particular client, all they know is that they bought it from you. Whatever happened in between, they won't consider it. What do they look at? They'll just look at the fact that Horizon Properties is not being built. They've forgotten to say the duty and obligation to protect that particular investment, or the responsibility to secure that particular investment was theirs. They will forget all that, and all they will say is, Horizon Properties inagandia and pesa mutash amanga pachani pana. So these are issues which get to us. In certain times, yes, when we see, we can compromise here and there, but the issue is, we cannot be on the same transactions over and over. In most times, yes, we've come in to help to a certain extent, but in most times, I think the clients, once the responsibility to secure these particular properties is passed on, we cannot get involved because it is your property. It's like you have an issue in your house, and you come to me and tell me, come and talk to people in my home because they don't listen to me. You see, it doesn't happen like that. The issue is own up and take care of that particular piece of land which you've bought. So these are some of the issues which, of course, we get to experience each and every day. I know since now we're looking at challenges, of course, that we face each and every day. We'll be able to share more as we get to next week. But for clients, I think like our CEO put it in his presentation, we have a way, because there are certain, of course, challenges which we face, which we are obliged to come in and resolve those issues, because those particular plots were not handed over and they were still in our care. There is, of course, a proper channel that you can follow. If you're someone who has maybe a complaint or anything, or just feedback for Horizon Properties. And in most times, we prefer that this feedback is in writing. Although most clients would prefer to call the agent. Forgetting to say, like Doctor said, the agent, the way they are, once they make the sale, they move on. In as much as it is wrong, but clients need to know to say, the best way is, in as much as you are notifying the agent, at least please put it in writing and submit to Horizon Properties through customer care when you get to our office. That way, the agent is notified, but officially, you would have reported, of course, that particular complaint or feedback that you have, either over a transaction, maybe it's these same encroachments, and you feel we may be the right people, of course, to help resolve that particular encroachment, if it's still within our reach. Please make sure to say, as you inform the agent, you also escalate by putting that particular, of course, complaint or feedback in writing and hand it, of course, to customer care. And then definitely, like our CEO said, within 24, 36 hours, maximum 48 hours, feedback should be given, and if possible, that particular complaint resolved. So there are a lot of mechanisms which are being put in place. People have been employed to handle these particular issues which our clients may be facing in certain sites. And I know others may listen to us on radio, but may not have the means to reach out to us. I think the best or the easiest that you can do, if you can't call us, send us an email to info@thehorizonproperties.com, and those particular complaints or feedback will be picked and, of course, channeled to the right people, and your issues will be handled. So it's not like issues are just left like that. In as much as challenges are faced, we also face them head on and ensure to say clients' needs are met.
All right. If you're just tuned in, you're listening to Property Focus Radio program brought to you KDC of Horizon Properties. Let's take a short break. September now. Pretty soon, obviously, the weather's going to start changing. People need to start farming as we prepare for the next farming season. Now, for anyone who's listening, first of all, let's talk about farmland. Why is farmland such an attractive investment with Horizon Properties? And what do you have currently available for sale?
Okay, so so many times I think we've mentioned to say and made comparisons, and in certain times I think I've made statements where I've said in most cases an ordinary Zambian would rather buy land than all kind of mountain, because everyone wants to be either within CBD or around CBD. But for me, I would give an opinion to say farmland always stands out. Stand out in the sense that when you observe the expansion of Lusaka, the way Lusaka is expanding, most of the places where we used to know to say Bujakuma Garden, Bujakuma Farm, are now places where farms are, or maybe residential plots are being sold, or places where people have put up office spaces, or spaces where people have built houses and land has become expensive. And in certain times, I think I've also made statements like buy land before people get there, or buy land before people get to realize the value of those lands. And farmland is exactly what I mean when I speak to that. Because when you compare a price for a residential plot, let's say 40 by 30 in Valere today, it will be fetching around 550,000 kwacha, depending on its position and location. Others, if you go further down, they may fetch somewhere around 300 to about maybe 280, 300, 280 last. So I'll pick the first price that I gave, 500,000 kwacha. If you are buying farms from Horizon Properties, let's say in Mungore, you will be buying 15 acres of land, which you get your titles on. So 15 acres in Mungure for that particular amount, and then the 15p was not going to change. In case of other administrative costs, that particular amount covers them all, and you get your title. So now, let's compare the two. You get yourself, let's say, 40 by 30 in Valere, where you build your house, and of course with limited space for you to do activities here and there. Or you get yourself that particular amount, 15 acres in Mungole, very good area where the roads are being done, titles are being processed, developed never. In terms of that particular block where you buy in, and you're 15 acres. Or if you want to just get 5 acres, which is 150,000 kwacha. That particular amount that remains, what are you going to do? Put up a structure there. Come 2, 3, 4 years from now, we've all seen what's happening with Mongole lands now. 5 years from now, 6, 10 years from now, Mongole is going to be a township. There will be houses everywhere. You have 15 acres which you have for yourself. What will happen? If that particular land was bought as a bank, or maybe something which had intentions of selling in future, at that particular point, it will be worth millions of kwacha. Just like the way land has appreciated in Silverest, where people 7, 8 years ago were buying plots at 45,000 kwacha, but the same plots are selling at 750 now. So that is going to happen to you. And depending on how the scarcity will be in Lusaka, you may find yourself whereby maybe that particular land is worth 3 million, 3, 4, 5 million kwacha. What business can you do right now that can give you that particular amount? That can be attached sitting somewhere else. So these are issues that people need to look at. And as we present lands like Mungore, people really need to rush, because these are lands which in the next 2 years will be extinct. We've seen the developments happening. We've seen people buying land to a point whereby others have gone ahead to start selling land which does not belong to them. The best you can do is get yourself genuine 5 acres at 150,000 kwacha from Horizon Properties. You may be buying to use it now, but in some way, it will definitely give you returns. Because you can buy to use and sell later, or buy to develop now and sell it later. If you're someone who's just starting out life and has money here and there coming in, this still remains the surest investment that you can get. Because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you may not have the energy that you have now. And this particular land can actually get to work for you. either through selling of subdivisions, or you sell it as or you just develop it and stay there and have all the comfort and the peace. Because where we're going, we'll start seeing a lot of double-story buildings around Lusaka. We've seen them; they're almost everywhere now. Like whichever way you go, then we could say I'm and IBEX and others. But now almost everywhere people are trying to go up because of what? Limited space. So 5 acres in Mongolia at only 150,000 kwacha from Horizon Properties. And then far from, moving on from Mongolia, we have Samba Farms. In my interactions with one of the people that owns some good land in Samba, someone confidently told me to say, Samba is the next Repazio. What do they mean? They've been around long enough to see how land has appreciated over the years. Despite the huge chunk of land that they have, they've seen how the same amount of money that someone is using to buy a 5 acre, maybe 17, 18 years ago, the same amount, they bought 400 hectares of land. So these are examples which people need to take into account as they make these decisions. We are better off buying 5 acres of land in Samba now at 100,000 kwacha than wait, because the more you wait, the more land is, or the demand keeps increasing. Because by high school, when they get jobs, they say they'll be looking at where would I be. You see, even those that are in universities now, and once they graduate, they get better jobs, they'll also be looking at where would I stay. So all that is what's pushing these demands at each and every day. Of course, these particular lands, the demand keeps increasing and prices keep going up. And the best you can do is secure these 5 acres at 100,000 kwacha only. And then far from Chisamba, we have farms in Chiawa, near Lower Zambezi. So here we have 3 sizes. We have 5 acres at 60,000 kwacha. Then we have 20 acres at 160,000 kwacha. We also have 50 acres at 350,000 kwacha. So for those that be wondering, Chiawa, where is Chiawa? What is that we are trying to talk about tonight? So getting to Chiawa is easy. You can use the Chirundu route for now because it is easily accessible. You can go there, you can use it any time of the year, and of course you can use it using any type of car. So you go through to Chirundu ShopRite, turn as if you're going into Lower Zambezi for 29 kilometers up to the farm. Others, those who are privileged enough to have powerful 4x4s, you can use Repazio Road. It will only take you 1 hour 30 minutes to drive from here all the way up to our site in Chiawa. So like I said, we have 5 acres at only 60,000 kwacha, and then we have 20 acres at 160,000 kwacha, and then we have 50 acres at only 350,000 kwacha. Someone may be asking, all these options given on radio, where can I find you? How do I get in touch? The easiest right now is to get my number, which is 0777 002756. 0777 002756. Send me a message, a WhatsApp, or simply give me a call. And of course, I will be able to share with you this particular information that I've given with regards to farms and any other information shared on the show. If you're someone who has time, please drive to our offices in Kablonga, which is right on the old Kablonga shopping complex, shop number 8 on Chindo Road. Not Central Mall, the new mall, but the old one, shop number 8. So if you're someone who's interested, maybe you are from the town side and you don't have time to go to Kablonga, we have an office which is right on the alley behind Lusaka Hotel in town. And then, of course, if you're someone who's interested in construction services, we have our head office in Woodlands, which is right opposite Woodlands State Primary School. The easiest is to check out, of course, our Facebook pages, because what I've given on radio is just a fraction of what we have. We have a lot of properties that are listed on Facebook, on our pages. So please check out Horizon Properties Limited Facebook page on Facebook. And then you can also check out Horizon Properties Limited Farmlands page, or you can simply check out Horizon Properties Limited Residential page. Or for anything related to the Horizon Green Village, please check out the Horizon Green Village project page. If you have any questions, contributions, submissions, with everything discussed on the show, with anything real estate, or maybe you're a client who may have want to give feedback, or maybe you have a complaint, the easiest is send us an email to info@thehorizonproperties.com, and definitely we're going to attend to that. So there is more in store and there's more coming. So many exciting sites, of course, which you need to look out for, but the best you can do is make sure that you're in touch so that those options can be discussed and you may have a better understanding of the listings that we have.
All right. Again, we have to leave it there. I want to say thanks so much for coming through. It's always a pleasure to have you guys from Horizon Properties.
It's always a pleasure being here.
Okay. There you have it. That's it for today's episode of